Now let's understand, how our body is designed and how can we understand what is a natural food for our species, right? Nature always equips every species with whatever is needed in order to eat the food which is meant for it. So, for example, a lion or a tiger, because its natural food is the flesh of other animals, right? So it has its body's physiology is such that it has certain things which is needed for it to kill the animal, tear it up and eat it. So it is endowed with high speed, it can run fast, it is endowed with an agile body, it has claws, it has canine teeth, and all those kind of things which are needed for it to hunt and kill other animals. Now, what is our body's physiology telling us? For example, if you look at our teeth, we do not have canine teeth, right? We have molar teeth meant for grinding and eating food. So there are a lot of factors we can discuss about, but I have just chosen a few important things here. And what about the length of our small intestine? So as you know, we have a very long small intestine, right? Up to 20 or 21 feet. And the length of the small intestine means that food is going to remain in the intestine for a long period of time. The food has to traverse the entire length of the intestine before it can be excreted out of the body. And this means that if we are eating foods which are unsuitable, which can rot very fast inside, this creates a lot of problems for health. And if you look at the intestines of carnivorous animals, they have a very short intestine. And that means that when they eat meat or when they eat other things, it spends very little time inside the body, right? And it can be easily very fast excreted out of the body, whereas that's not the case for us. Now, what about our vision? So we have colored vision, which means that we can spot out ripe fruits and we really enjoy seeing colors in our food. So we have to, it is indicating to us that we have to eat food with different colors, multicolors, just as nature provided different things in different seasons with different flavors and colors. So rather than, always nowadays the kind of food we eat is heavy in brown and yellow and white, right? Whereas we are meant to enjoy and eat foods with different colors. Our stomach acid. We have a weak stomach acid. We cannot digest highly acidic foods. Our stomach acid is weak, which is mostly meant to be digesting simple alkaline foods. Whereas if you see the stomach acid of, for example, meat-eating animals, they have a very strong stomach acid, which can break down the acid content of the flesh they eat. What about reflexes? Our hands, and our thumbs, we have opposing thumbs, and we have, not very powerful hands, but we have flexible hands and limbs. So it is mostly meant to be climbing trees and plucking fruit and eating, not for hunting or, chasing animals and killing. So in effect, by understanding nature, what nature has provided us in our bodies, we can try to gain a deeper understanding into finding out what is our real food. I hope some of you remember this kind of diagram which we learned during high school, right? Excuse me. So the primary source of all energy on our planet is the sun. The sun's energy is captured by the producers. Producers are nothing but plants. Now, these plants are eaten by the next level of consumers, which are herbivorous animals. And herbivorous animals are consumed by other carnivorous animals. So, this is the food chain. Now, as you go higher up in the food chain, there is a progressive loss of energy. This is because of whatever the animal itself uses and whatever is lost out to the environment. So the highest form of highest amount of energy is available at lower in the food chain, and at every step there is a step down in the quality and quantity of energy available. That means the higher we eat on the food chain, the lesser amount in quality and quantity of energy we get, which means we have to eat lower in the food chain, that is eat more plants, because plants are lower in the food chain. So that brings us to the topic of animal foods. What are animal foods? Animal foods are foods which are made, coming from animals. That means all kinds of meat, dairy, fish, eggs, all these things. So these are again, like if you look at the previous slide, these are all higher in the food chain. Now, animal foods have a great bearing on the hormonal balance of our body. Why? Because animals themselves have a different kind of hormone balance and levels of hormones in their own body. And when we eat products coming from animals, it causes an imbalance in our own hormones. Because if you remember the day one session, right, we discussed about how the body intricately balances the different hormones and very intelligently harmonizes and synchronizes depending on the need of the body. It orchestrates all the different levels of hormones, which gets disturbed when animal products are taken. And nowadays, the way in which for example, dairy is mass produced by the dairy industry, it's very detrimental for health. Cows are injected with with a chemical called oxytocin, which is actually used by many dairy farmers to increase the milk production. And also the animal feed itself, like the grass or the grains or whatever is given to these animals, they are actually mixed with antibiotics and given, because in a lot of dairy industries, the animals are kept in close confinement. They are not given enough exercise or sunlight, so the animals fall sick frequently. So they are given a lot of antibiotics, which again get into our own bodies when we consume them. Now, normally, just like human mothers, there is a period when a woman is pregnant and then the baby is delivered, and for some period of time the woman doesn't get pregnant, especially not when she is usually when she's not lactating, she doesn't get pregnant, and also a time lapse is there before the next pregnancy. Now, because of whatever is happening with the dairy industries, because of the profit and all those things, cows are made pregnant even when they are lactating. That means even when they are still feeding milk to their babies, they are made pregnant again. As you may know, the levels of hormones are higher in during feeding. When we are feeding our babies, the levels of hormones are higher, and it goes even higher when the cow is pregnant during lactation. So there is excess estrogen and progesterone coming from pregnant lactating cows, and estrogen dominance. So this estrogen is a hormone. This dominance is the main cause of excessive bleeding, cramps, and all those problems associated with the monthly periods. The female reproductive tissues like the breasts, the ovaries, and the uterus all get irritated with these excess hormones coming from dairy and other animal products like estrogens, progesterones, prolactin. All these are excess and they cause a lot of hormonal imbalance in our bodies. Animal products are also high in protein. So proteins are one of the categories, the nutrients of food, which is the most difficult to digest by the body. There's a lot of myth created by industries nowadays which say that we need a lot of protein and we need this food for protein, we need eggs for protein and all those things, which is actually not right. Protein is there in every food. You don't need to specially take egg or dairy or any form of non-vegetarian food for protein, because the most the more difficult food is to digest, the more tired and out of balance the body goes. Also, foods which are high in fats are quite difficult for the body to digest, especially if the food is high in fat and doesn't have fiber. Then that makes it even more taxing for the body, and that is one of the main causes of weight gain and hormonal imbalance. What happens is that the blood gets toxic with the fats coming without the fiber, and it gets sluggish. The circulation is impaired, and when the circulation is less, as we discussed in session 1, it causes problems of mood swings, of aches and pains, skin problems, hair problems, all those things. Not to mention weight gain, because these foods are without fiber, so there is no natural portion control, and the fat readily gets into the blood, and it causes a high amount of calorie input. Also, insulin resistance. If you remember session 1, we spoke about how fat in the muscle cells does not allow insulin to do its job and allow sugar to get into the muscles where it's needed. So this is insulin resistance. Animal foods are one of the main reasons for insulin resistance. Animal foods do not have fiber, so they get readily absorbed into the bloodstream. So this is a very important factor to consider. From my own personal experience, when I was going through my own hormone imbalance issues, I had milk coming from my breasts, even though I was not feeding my children, though I was not pregnant, and I had very heavy periods, which was frequently associated with pain. I had anxiety and mood swing disorders, which is again a sign of hormonal imbalance, not able to sleep properly. And I would like to tell you that, once I stopped dairy from my diet, within a period of 2 to 3 months, I could see like a miraculous change in my state of health, not only body but also mind. Many of these problems went away on their own, though I had tried things like meditation and other things to help me with these issues. It was only when I made this change to my food habits I saw a big change in my health. So I would urge you to seriously consider this, because this is one of the cornerstones for you to see a change in your PCOS symptoms. So as we discussed, fiber is very important to remove excess estrogen from the body. Animal foods have no fiber, and it's also important to note that foods coming from animals have much more pesticides compared to plant-based foods. So this data has been taken from a book called Skinny Bitch, and it says that it shows the amount of pesticides in dairy and meat, which is many more times than what is coming from plant-based food. So the higher we go in the food chain, there is bioaccumulation. That means the toxins get accumulated more and more in the body tissues of animals, and that comes through the food we take from these animals. So it is always better to eat whole plant-based foods, which not only retain fiber, they are low in fat and they are also lower in pesticides.